Welcome back, class. We are now in part 3, psychology. We examine in chapter 8, psychophysics and physiological psychology, and this brings up mind-body questions. It takes us back to Descartes' dualism in Things We Doubt. So we revisit and take a closer look at skepticism, some debates and questions, some key figures. Then we'll look at select rationalists, and then take a closer look at psychophysics. Now let's start with psychology. We begin this discussion by reminding ourselves about Descartes. He saw that there were two substances, mind and body, and they interacted in some form. This was his belief that led to dualism. He saw their mind-body interaction, two separate substances. The way he saw the external world, reality, or nature is this way. Nature is the absence of thought or mind, but there is mechanism. Remember, he wanted to mechanize the universe, that we're all mechanisms to lesser or greater complexities. Now we talk about Spinoza, where he saw reality as being one substance, this God nature substance with different attributes or features. So he didn't see these two things like Descartes and his dualism. He saw one thing, one substance, but it had different aspects or features. And that's what was known as the double aspect theory. The double aspect theory. The way he saw the external world, reality slash nature, was one of panpsychism. Mind or thought is in nature as well. So mind thought is in nature. This influenced the ideas of Gustav Fechner and his psychophysics. So let's look at Fechner. Fechner, in examining this mind-body idea, his real question, he believed, was this. How do they correlate, mind and body? How do they correlate, not causal interactions between the two? The major idea presented here, the key thing, was that he was suggesting that the mental can be measured. So his view of the external world, reality slash nature, he supported this idea of panpsychism that Spinoza offered. He looked at the relationship between the inward world of sensations and the outward world of objective events, psychophysics, as being key. Certainty and skepticism, some basic questions. Can any human belief or perception be placed beyond doubt? What's the possibility of doubt has been admitted? Can it ever be removed? Can any beliefs still be justified as knowledge? Are there any beliefs that are worthy of being accepted as foundations for other beliefs or inferences? Can a genuine distinction be made between appearance and reality? Can skepticism itself be a consistent point of view? Dogmatic skepticism. Here are some skeptical and non-skeptical attitudes. In dogmatic skepticism, nothing can be known, nothing is true, all human claims to knowledge are false. Pyrrhonian skepticism. Certainty is impossible, so the wise person should suspend judgment about theoretical matters. Empirist foundationalism. The senses provide the ultimate criteria for justifying belief. Rationalist foundationalism. The senses give subjective or even deceptive appearances, and only reason provides a foundation for certain knowledge. Authoritarianism. Certain persons, for example, priestly authorities, authors of sacred books, are empowered to know and to speak the truth on fundamental matters. Some underlying principles of skepticism. First, we have relativity of perception. Perceptions vary according to circumstances of time and place, physical conditions, the nature of the object, and the nature of the individual perceiver. For example, if you're outside during the winter and it's 30 degrees outside, you go into the house and it feels hot in there, and it's only 52 degrees in the house. The idea is that we feel 52 being hot because we're comparing it to where we were before. But 52 at any other time may be far from hot. It may be cool or cold even. So the conclusion about this relativity of perception is this. Contrary to the empiricist, our own immediate sensations are no guide to objective circumstances. The problem of infinite regress. Any rational argument must depend on premises, and these premises must be deduced from other premises, and those must be deduced from still other premises, and so on and so on and so on. So we have a premises based on the foundation of other premises. Or the problem of conventionalism. In order to avoid an infinite regress, we can simply choose a principle as an axiom. So this is just the way it is. So choose a principle as an axiom and so refuse to justify it. It's just the way it is. But since the axiom cannot be deductively justified, it is arbitrary. Conclusion: contrary to the rationalist, reason cannot provide a foundation for true belief. Then we have the problem of human variability and frailty. For every opinion held by any reputable human being, there is a contrary opinion that has been held by equally reputable human beings. Every opinion that now seems foolish has been, at some other time or place, regarded as absolute truth by reputable authorities. Generally, what human beings regard as certain varies according to history and culture. Conclusion: contrary to the authoritarian, no human beings can be regarded as having some special insight into the truth. Montaigne. Skepticism to mitigate doubt. Credulity. Excessive trust in the reports of others. Incredulity. Excessive confidence in the wisdom of one's own judgment. Skepticism. A sense of the fallibility of human judgment. We must bring more reverence and a greater recognition of our ignorance and weakness to our judgment of nature's infinite power. For to condemn as impossible is rashly and presumptuously to pretend to a knowledge of the bounds of possibility. So, discourse on the method of rightly conducting one's reason and searching for truth in the sciences. So, we've talked about Descartes several times already. The idea is, he stated, I do not intend to teach the method, but only to speak about it. For as you can see from what I say of it, it consists more in the practice than in theory. And I call this treatise Essays in this Method, because I hold that these things that they contain could not have been discovered without the method, and that through them you know its value. Discourse on the method. An analytical method of distinguishing truth from falsehood and of building scientific knowledge on secure foundations. Such things that he saw as being topics worthy of discussion in this matter: optics, a mathematical theory of the reflection and refraction of light, including the discovery of law of refraction; geometry, the invention of modern analytical geometry, including the reduction of geometrical curves and figures to algebraic relations. Meteorology, a study of atmospheric phenomena, including a derivation of the colors of the rainbow from principles of optics. So, what Descartes did here was to figure out a process, a methodology, so to speak, to try to obtain certain knowledge, to remove things from doubt. That was his driving force, his driving aim. So Rene Descartes applied his mathematical approach to philosophy and his development of a rational system. Descartes imported his mathematical method as he pushed the limits of his ability to doubt. The four parts of his method are as follows. 1. Never accept anything as true unless it is clear, distinct, and immune from doubt. 2. Divide all difficulties into as many parts as possible. 3. Start with the easiest and simplest elements and then proceed to the complex. 4. Keep complete notes and comprehensive reviews so nothing is omitted. Descartes started with doubt. He could not, however, doubt that he was doubting. He maintained that because he was doubting, he was thinking, and because he was thinking, he was existing. Therefore, he concluded, I think, therefore I am. After establishing his own existence, he accepted a clear and distinct sense experience, and then he can proceed to rely on his experience in his research. Descartes postulated a non-extended mind that is qualitatively different from the physical body, dualism, based on his understanding of his certain knowledge of his existence. Michel de Montaigne. It was necessary, Montaigne argued, that man constantly subject himself to the most searching intellectual self-examination in order to impress upon ourselves how little we really know. Such an attitude flew in the face of the medieval scholastic, smug in his intellectual arrogance, who believed that armed with the scriptures and the masters of theology, he possessed the sum total of necessary knowledge. This should bring into mind some of the ideas that you've probably come across before. For example, the scientific attitude, which is normally discussed in introductory psychology courses. The idea of having a scientific attitude is one of curiosity, wanting to know things. Skepticism, not trusting data that's being presented to you just simply because it's being presented to you by someone who's a learned individual or an authority figure. Wanting to get to the truth of it. And then the idea of humility. Understanding that we are not always going to be right, that sometimes we are going to be wrong. And this idea of Michel de Montaigne sort of addresses some of those ideas of the scientific attitude. So, knowledge. Montaigne. When we allow emotion and prejudice to enter the process of assimilating such knowledge, we will fail to derive wisdom from the exercise. If nature reveals diversity to be the rule, then the theological effort to teach and enforce uniformity in thought and action must be incorrect and dangerous. As the cartoon here says, beware of dogma. So, rationalism. Rene Descartes and others answered the challenge of Montaigne's skepticism through rationalism. Rationalism is derived from the Latin ratio, meaning to reason. Rationalism may be differentiated from empiricism in three primary ways. Rationalism emphasizes a priori knowledge. Rationalists most often postulate an active mind that acts upon incoming sensory information. Rationalists emphasize deductive arguments using logic to demonstrate that the premises of an argument provide definite grounds for the conclusion. Some select rationalists: Rene Descartes, Baruch Spinoza, Gottfried Leibniz, Christian Wolff, Immanuel Kant, Johann Herbart, and Thomas Reid. Baruch Spinoza, very interesting figure, personally, notable for the fact that he lived largely by his philosophical views. So he just didn't talk it, he walked the talk, so to speak. He faced extreme social, political, religious, and personal pressure to change his views, but he did not. Ultimately, he was excommunicated, as you probably saw in the video. He argued for a monistic pantheism. There's only one substance, God. Descartes had presented qualitatively distinctions between mind and body, sacred and secular, and humans and animals. Spinoza challenged these ideas. He challenged Descartes' dualisms, particularly the means by which qualitatively different substances such as mind and body. I do not know how to teach philosophy without becoming a disturber of established religion. Spinoza. So he advocated this double aspect monism. Even if humans use different languages to discuss the mental and physical worlds, the mental and physical worlds are only two aspects of the same reality, God. These two aspects of humans move in response to natural laws. In his world, there is no room for free will. Spinoza's thoroughgoing monism prohibits powers separate from God. Therefore, he denied the existence of demons. Spinoza may have helped challenge the intellectual foundation of the Inquisition. The universe, nature, and God are all equivalent. This pantheism. God and nature are two names for the same reality. They are a single substance for which the rest of the universe is modes and modifications. There is only one set of rules governing all that is around us. His ideas with determinism, everything that happens occurs out of necessity. Freedom is our capacity to know that we are determined and that things are supposed to happen the way they do. Everything must happen the way that does. There is no free will. So nothing, according to Spinoza's ethics, nothing is simply good or bad. Things are only good or evil because that is the way humanity views them. All things in nature proceed from certain necessity and with the utmost perfection. Nothing happens by chance. Reality is perfection. Things are only viewed as negative or unfortunate because of our inability to understand reality. According to Spinoza, the highest virtue is knowledge of God / nature / universe. The more we are conscious of ourselves and God, the closer to perfection we are. So in summary of Spinoza's life, after both his parents died, Spinoza began to express his philosophical views and their theological implications publicly. His rejection of the immortality of the soul and his claim that God is both physical and spiritual led to his being excommunicated from the synagogue in Amsterdam when he was 24. His excommunication meant that no Jew could have any contact with Spinoza, including his family. His works were banned by the Catholics, the Calvinists, and Jews alike. And to protect his intellectual freedom, he refused an offer to be a professor at Heidelberg after Leibniz, who discovered the calculus, recommended Spinoza for a position.